بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والحمد لله رب العالمين صلى الله عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا رسول الله صلى الله عليك وعلى آلك الطاهرين. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال الله في كتابه الكريم وقوله الحق وهو أصدق الصادقين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا يحيى خذ الكتاب بقوة وآتيناه الحكم صبيا. Let us enlighten our majlis in remembrance of the holy household with salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The verses from Surah Maryam, verse number 12. O Yahya, the Quran is now addressing Yahya. Previously it was addressing Zakaria. It is now addressing his son. Ya Yahya, khudh al-kitab biquwwatin wa atainahu al-hukma sabiyya. O Yahya, take the word of Allah, take the books, take the previous testaments, take the Torah, take the Psalms, take the word of Allah and spread it with conviction and preach it with knowledge. And then it goes not to address Yahya, to address the rest of the world, and says, and we have brought to him wisdom while he was young. The ulama of tafsir have an opinion on this. One opinion is al-hukm means nabuwah, but it is a discussion whether a prophet who is still a child or a child can become a prophet or not. Most of the ulama say that the prophet becomes of age or begins his mission when he reaches the age of 40. This is the most widely held opinion. Yes, he is born a prophet, but his prophethood, his mission begins later on. There are a few dissenting ulama that say no, there is no harm in a prophet beginning his mission while he is a child. But the majority of our scholars are against this opinion, believing that while they are children, they are fallible, they are given wisdom, some of them are given leadership positions, some are able to create miracles like Isa alayhi salam, or Dawood was able to lead an army while he was a young boy, young man. But reaching this position of prophethood and beginning to preach has to wait for a later time. When a person has reached the years in which people can accept a prophet, it is difficult for people to listen to someone younger than them. Unfortunately, this is the way of humankind. And so the discussion is between the two, whether there can be a prophet who is a child or not. Most of our ulama say this reference here refers to wisdom, does not refer to the prophethood beginning while he was young. The issue of Yahya, everybody knows that Yahya was related to Isa alayhi salam. Yahya's mother, who is the wife of Zakaria, and Maryam alayhi salam, who was the mother of Isa, were sisters. They were cousins then, so they were maternal cousins. Zakaria, who was one of the prophets of his time, was charged with making sure that Maryam was raised well because her father died while she was young. So he was frequently acting like her foster father, her adopted father. He would make sure that she was never in need. He made sure that she was sent to the temple to learn. She was in a state where she quickly became a scholar of religion and a very pious worshipper. Now in the Quran it describes that Zakaria frequently would come to Maryam alayhi salam and find that she had plenty of food. Now the temple, she knew when she entered the temple she would not leave. There was no kitchen in the temple. There was no way she could have picked these fruits for herself and got this food and have it ready. So he would be puzzled. The Quran describes this. He says, Maryam, where did you get this food from? Anna laki hadha ta'am. Where did you find? Where were you able to get this food from? Who bought it for you? She said, Allah brings it down for me. He gives me sustenance so I can focus on my worship. He says, is this true? Yes. She says, yes. Look how powerful dua is. He says, then I now have a need, I will turn to dua. So he is inspired by Maryam. He goes back. he goes to his prayer niche, sits in front of the mihrab like the one you have over there, sits and begins to pray. He says, Allah, I have learned from Maryam the power of dua. This is a prophet, by the way. He says, I have learned how powerful this dua can be. I wish to have a son because I have grown old. My wife has grown old, and we worry what the people will do after we die. Will they turn away from religion? Give me a son so that he may continue in the same path as me and make sure people do not deviate from religion. And give me a son who will keep your worship alive, because people are beginning to turn away from your worship. So Allah answers him in Surah Maryam, when Zakaria has prayed. This is the background to the story. Allah answers him and says, yes, we will give you a son. Zakaria says, how will you give me a son? How is it possible? I'm an old man, I'm not capable of having children. My wife is not, she's past the age where she can be childbearing. It is not possible for her to give birth. The angel replies, if Allah commands anything, he says to it, be, and it will be. He says, okay, give me a sign. SubhanAllah, even the prophets are in need of communication with Allah. They don't like to be cut off from Allah. They want to be in communication constantly. So he says to him, give me a sign for me, myself, and for the people. He says, when the child will be born, you will not be able to communicate with the people for 3 days. You will be silent. 3 days, you will not be able to speak. This is one of the signs of this miraculous birth. And so it comes to pass that he has this birth. And frequently, people call this the silent fast. He was fasting for those 3 days and was not able to speak. So it has become part of some traditions where people fast for 3 days and do not speak either. They follow the tradition of Zakaria. It exists in some traditions. Now when Zakaria came to be born and was raised in the correct way, from a young age, Allah had given him wisdom. He was able to speak with people as if he was their age, as if he was much older than his years. And this is an important point, that we can raise our children to act older than their years. The Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, was known to be special from his young age. Every other child was interested in play. The Prophet was more interested in discovering what was the real reason behind things. Why does it rain? How does it rain? Do things happen by themselves? How do these clouds move themselves? How does this newborn lamb grow, for example? Where does the child of the camel come from? He would learn all these things. The Prophet was raised, after he was born, he was raised outside of Mecca. He was raised by his milk nurse, his milk mother. She was known as Halima as-Sa'diyah. Halima as-Sa'diyah was the one who raised the Prophet for 3 to 4 years. When the Prophet's mother died, he was taken out of Mecca so that someone would be able to nurse him. And he grew up outside in the desert. He observed the way things were. He looked at the creatures. He saw the hardship of the desert. He saw how people survived in those conditions. He watched the environment around him. He learned from all of these things. And Allah has chosen for all of His prophets a similar thing. You find all of the prophets had jobs. All of the prophets worked. All of the prophets were either carpenters, shepherds, people who were, some of them were smiths. They would go out and work with metal, for example. Dawood was a smith. Others were carpenters. Our Holy Prophet was a shepherd initially. Isa alayhi salam was a shepherd likewise. All of them lived in real world situations, real life situations. None of them sat in a cave and said, I disconnect myself from the people and then I'll bring down upon miracles out of nowhere. Instead, all of them behaved as one of the people. They lived a normal life so that people would be more readily accepting of them. So the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, while he was young, people knew he was special. They never saw him lie. They never saw him paying attention to the idols. They never saw him waste his time. They never saw him use bad manners. They never saw the Prophet do anything that the rest of the children ordinarily do. Soil themselves, say bad words, for example, be unruly or rebellious. The only time the Prophet would not do something is it when it involved the idols. He would not pick up an idol. He would not touch an idol. He would not bless an idol. He would not bow before an idol. He would not swear by an idol. Even the children, when they used to fight with each other, like we have today, children, I swear I didn't do this, I promise I didn't do that, they would swear by the names of the idols. The Prophet would not do that. He would not get involved in using the idols' names. So that gave them an indication that the Holy Prophet, while he was young, was wiser than his years. When the battles occurred outside of Mecca, in the early years of the Prophet's life, look at the battles. They are called the battles of Al-Fujjar. Ma'arakat al-Fujjar. The battles of Fujjar occurred when the Prophet was maybe 14 years old. This is well before Islam. These occurred because Mecca is supposed to be a holy area, holy land, and no fighting is allowed, and especially the 4 months in the year, the whole 4 holy months, no fighting is allowed during these times. The people of Quraysh had various agreements with tribes around the Hijaz, saying that if so-and-so attacks you, we will defend you. Modern day states do the same thing. They have pacts. There is a North Atlantic Treaty Organization, better known as NATO. They agree with certain countries that we will defend you if so-and-so attacks you. There is a pact and agreement between certain states. Likewise, during the lifetime of the Prophet, his tribe, the Quraysh, had agreements with various other tribes and said to them that if so-and-so attacks you, we will come out and defend you. If something happens in this month and you need our assistance, we will come to your assistance. And likewise, if we need you, you help us. There was a bilateral agreement, they call it. And one of these agreements needed to be enforced. One of the other tribes was attacking a tribe that was allied with the Prophet's tribe during the holy months and approaching Mecca, the holy sanctuary, where you're not even allowed to kill a fly. One of the rules of Ihram, or one of the rules of Mecca, is that you are not able to kill a fly. Anything living, you're not allowed to kill it. If something lands on your shoulder, you have to leave it. SubhanAllah, look how everything is protected in this holy place. Because Allah says everything that comes there comes for a reason. It seeks protection, it wants to be close to my holy house. Do not touch, do not kill, do not harm anything. Leave it be. This is one of the rules of being in Mecca and also being in the state of Ihram, even if you're outside Mecca. Now, the Prophet was hearing his tribal elders calling out, we want our supporters. Why? We are going to defend this other tribe because we signed up for agreement saying that the 4 holy months in the year, no battle was to take place, no blood was to be shed. Unfortunately, another tribe has broken the rules. The Prophet joined. This is before Islam, brothers and sisters. The Prophet joined because he believed in enforcing these rules. An agreement was made through our holy months that no battle should take place in. I will come out and defend these rules. And he says later on, if I am asked to come out and fight in these battles again, I would do so. He said these, even though they were before Islam, they were for the correct purpose. Sometimes doing something, not necessarily always thinking about the Islamic side of it, sometimes doing something because it is ethically the right way to do it. Sometimes dealing with a non-Muslim, you shouldn't think, this person's a non-Muslim, should I be nice to him? You should not think that way. Imam Ali says to Malik al-Ashtar when he sends him to Egypt, he says, be wary of the people that you are going to govern. They are of 2 types. Either your brother in faith or your equal in creation. In either way, you have to be wary how you deal with them. If he's your brother in faith, your faith imposes on you to treat him well. If he's your equal in creation, which everyone is, then you also likewise have to deal with him fairly. So there is no way out. You must be careful how you deal with each other. This is the words of Amir al-Mu'mineen, brothers and sisters. Likewise, the Holy Prophet, when he came out in this battle to defend what was an agreement that the holy months would not be violated. He came out and it is said, he says himself, he narrates that my uncles and the rest of the elders of the tribe would go out. I would prepare the bows and the arrows and give it to them and replenish their arrows. This was the Prophet's task. He was 14 years old at that time. He said, I supported my uncles and the battles in this way. And thereafter, they signed an agreement called Hilful Fudul, a covenant of the 3 Fadls. They were Fadl and Fadl and Fadl, 3 different brothers named Fadl, 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 who were the ones that made this agreement that if anyone violates certain conditions, we will stand up and defend. And the Prophet said, add my name to this covenant, add my name to this agreement. This is also a good agreement. That the poor person who is oppressed, we will defend them. That if someone is in need of help, we will give them help. That if anyone needs money, we will give money. That if anyone is going to be murdered, we will stop this murder. That if the rules that all the tribes agree on, which are to stay away from bloodshed during the holy months and during the holy sanctuary, then likewise we will enforce these rules. And the Prophet said, add my name to this agreement. I will also take part. So the Holy Prophet, peace be upon him, in his younger years was known as someone special. This is one of the reasons why he was 14 years old. You could still call him a boy at that time. He himself made sure that he was known, someone special. When he grew a little bit older than that, The people of Mecca, when they used to travel, you know that we're talking of over 1,400 years of history. When the people of Mecca would travel, some of them were wealthy. There was no banks in the time. There was no storage. There was nowhere that you could leave something and come back and collect it with no issues. Frequently there was a battle between brothers and cousins because one would say, I gave you this, where is it? And the other would say, there is no witness. That is why the Quran advises us, Bel instructs us, commands us. It says, if you come to an agreement, write it down. Make sure there are witnesses. Do not rely on one, rely on two witnesses. If you loan each other, or if you come to make an agreement about something, write it down. Make sure there is a witness. This is a very clear command and instruction. Inshallah, whenever we have our dealings with each other, we make sure we follow this instruction from the Holy Quran. So the people of Mecca had an issue. When they would leave, how would they make sure that their possessions were safe? And the first time someone decided to come up with a solution was that, why don't we entrust things to this, our young cousin, referring to the Holy Prophet. We haven't seen him lie. We haven't seen him do anything that the rest of the children do. He's mature, mashallah, and he's always honest in the way he speaks with people. Let us entrust our belongings to him. It was tried once, it was effective, and twice and three times, until the Holy Prophet was known as Al-Sadiq Al-Amin. The truthful. Sadiq means truth, Sidq, truth. Al-Sadiq means the truthful. Al-Amin, the trustworthy. He became, if we want to paraphrase this whole incident, he became the bank of Mecca. The people would not leave Mecca to go to their trade journeys, to go and meet their relatives in other parts, to go out hunting, if they did not leave their possessions, their wealth, their most important things in the possession of the Holy Prophet. So that when they came back, they knew for sure he would hand it over to them. And one day a man agreed to meet with the Prophet at a certain place. The Prophet went. It would happen to be at midday, under the desert sun, outside the city. The Prophet waited for 12 hours, until the middle of the night, until some people got worried, some of his family members got worried, and they came out searching for him. And they found him. What are you doing here? He said, I agreed with a man to be here at 12, to give him back his possessions. I did not wish to break the meeting, the appointment. I did not want to let him come and not be here and say that the Prophet did not give me my possessions back. So they went and told this man. He said, Ajib, I forgot we had a meeting. SubhanAllah, look how gracious this person is. He was willing to bear the desert sun just to make sure that whatever thing I gave to him, entrusted to him, he handed it back. This was the akhlaq of the Holy Prophet. This was why he was respected by people. This is well before Islam. This is while he was a young man. This is while he was the age of some of the young brothers here, your age. Before reaching the station of approaching everyone with his message and telling people join me and then showing them some miracles. This was well before. He set the stage with his akhlaq. Likewise, if we want to go out and invite people to become followers of our madhab and join the army of Imam al-Mahdi and be followers of Imam al-Sadiq and have the wilayah of Amir al-Mu'mineen and have the love of Imam Hussein, before we do that, we have to prepare ourselves like the Prophet. If the Prophet was someone in his youth who used to steal, or he used to lie, or he used to not have decent looks when he go out in the street, or not wear appropriate clothing, or not deal with his family members in the right way, or not have excellent akhlaq. If someone came down to him and said, here is the Risala, go and preach, who would listen to him? Which person would say, yes, I'm going to listen to this Prophet, even though we know he has deficiencies in his character? This is why the belief in infallibility is a must in our system. We must believe in infallibility, because there is no way Allah would entrust the message to someone who could make mistakes and could tell lies and could forget. Despite what other schools will tell you, they have a limited belief in infallibility. We believe in absolute infallibility. No mistakes allowed. Why? Because if this person is trusted by Allah, He has given him His words and entrusted him with everything, and he makes a mistake, that means Allah has made a mistake. And Allah is not capable of making mistakes. That means He has chosen the wrong person. He has created the wrong type of creature. He has entrusted His message to the wrong person. Forget what some of these silly people on the internet say, that Jibreel, the Prophet, came to the wrong person. He was supposed to come to Ali, the Shia say. Not supposed to come to... We say, well, okay, we accept this, no problem. Yes, he was supposed to come to Ali. But that means, did Allah know that Jibreel was going to be a traitor or not? If Allah knew that Jibreel was going to be a traitor, then Allah wanted to betray the Prophet. There's something wrong here. If Allah did not know, is it possible that Allah does not know? There's a problem here as well. So these silly ideas, silly talk, don't even bother engaging with them. I advise you, brothers and sisters, don't waste your time. Especially when you reach the age of university, you're 18, 19, 20, 21. Do not waste your time with these debates. Avoid. In the old days, it used to be pal talk. There used to be tens of rooms. People would sit there, and it would just be debate, going and throwing, toing and throwing. Then we started up something called the Ahl Bayt Societies 12 years ago. The same thing would happen. Brothers with big beards would come, short dress, mashallah, and come and use terrible language and terrible ideas. You worship the turban. My advice, say yes. Go. Yes, I worship the turban, no problem. Go ahead. You worship Hussein. Yes, I worship Hussein. Go ahead. Don't waste your time in this. Focus more on yourself. Focus on your brother and sister. Focus on the people in this community that need your time. Give your time to the center. Give your time to your family members. I know the brother I said here is now starting a drive. He's collecting donations. He's interested now, mashallah, it's going to be a several thousand, tens of thousands of pounds project, a large project to redevelop this site. Not because he's going to gain anything out of it, all the other trustees. What they're going to do is make better services for you. So give your time, give your money, give your energy, give your support. Mashallah, all of you on social media. Even the elders. I know every single person is now on social media. Every person has a Facebook and Twitter account and Instagram and I don't know how many things there are now. Make sure you support this. Retweet. Write what he says. Let us support the center. He's going to be doing a raffle. I think next happy occasion, inshallah, after the month of Muharram and Safar. Join in the raffle. Buy the tickets. Get your children interested in this. Because me and you, maybe in a few years' time, will be put 6 feet under and we're gone. But what about the next generation? Yes, we know Ali ibn Abi Talib. We love Imam Hussein. What do the next generation do? Maybe me and you benefited from good centers and good scholars. But can we ensure the next generation have this? Maybe we understood things in Arabic and Urdu. But now the next generation needs it in English. That means we have to make sure there is a continuity of these services. Otherwise, we will forget. Our generations will forget the true religion. And in a few years' time, the calamity will be when people will look like they are followers of the Ahl Bayt, maybe even have the names of some of the followers of Ahl Bayt, but unfortunately, they won't know the Aqeedah of Ahl Bayt. So let us make sure that we support initiatives that go out to support the community. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the Holy Prophet prepared the ground by making sure in his youthful years, he had this character that was noted as being truthful, trustworthy, great akhlaq, never lied. Never ever the Prophet lied. That is why, whenever he was challenged by the Quraysh, when he said something, they would not argue with him. They believed in him. They did not dispute his sayings. They could not call him a liar. They never ascribed lying to him. They said other things. Magician, an insane man, a crazy person. But they couldn't call him a liar. That was the one thing the Quraysh never called the Prophet. They called him all sorts of things. But they could never call him a liar, because he was truthful in his life. So he set the stage. Likewise, the Quran here is describing the story of Yahya. It is saying that we gave him wisdom while he was young, so that when he grew and Yahya began to preach his message, the people would know that he was truthful, because from a young age he was prepared. And this is one of the signs of the prophets, is that the way they lead their lives from when they are young is special. This is how you mark them out. This is how you are able to recognize them. Otherwise, if they act like me and you do, like everyone else does, they are fallible beings. And fallible beings are not capable of carrying this message. They make mistakes. Likewise, carrying on after prophethood needs to be entrusted to people who are infallible. Otherwise, if the Prophet appoints someone, or marries his daughter to someone, or hands over the reins of power to someone who makes mistakes, yes, that means the Prophet has made a mistake. And what did we just talk about? The Prophet makes a mistake, then we have to think, has Allah made a mistake? Astaghfirullah. We can't go down that road. That means that the Prophet, when he appoints someone, he appoints him with full authority and knowledge. That means that person likewise is also infallible. Why? Because he is a continuation of the Risala. Yes, maybe some brothers or sisters are not aware. Maybe some people will surprise you by hearing it on the internet. Our belief, the Ithna Ashari belief, is our 12 Imams are superior to the Prophets. Yes, this is in our books. This is our belief. That our holy 12 Imams are superior to the Prophets. not to the holy prophets. Because, why? Why does this belief come about? Because they are from the Prophet. They're an extension of the Prophet. And the Prophet is the best of all prophets. So in this way, this is why we believe our 12 Imams are superior to the other prophets out there. This is not something that we don't speak about or we try to hide. No such thing. We are proud of this. It is being proven by our scholars. And it is something that we believe in openly. Our Imams are divine. They are inspired by Allah. There is no wahi. They don't have a new book. There is no revelation being revealed onto them, but they are inspired. When they need to know, they are told. When they need to be in the know, they are told. Example, Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is related from one of the companions of Amir al-Mu'mineen. He says, when we were going out to the battle of Nahrawan, as we were moving, a scout came back and said to Amir al-Mu'mineen, he said, I was beside him. He was on his horse, I was beside him. A scout came back and said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, I've been out scouting. Amir al-Mu'mineen says, what did you see? The battle of Nahrawan was against the Khawarij. The third of the battles during Amir al-Mu'mineen's Khilafah. What did you see, O scout? He said, the enemy has reached the river. The Imam said, no, they have not. He said, we continued our journey. Sometime thereafter, another scout, a different scout, came and Amir asked him, what did you see? What have you scouted for? He said, I saw that the enemy has reached the river. Imam again said, La wallah, they have not. لن يصلوا النهر ولن يعبروه وما يقتل منا إلا عشرة وما يبقى منهم إلا عشرة. Wallah, they have not reached the river and they will not cross it. And none of us will be killed except for 10, and none of them will remain except for 10. This companion says, at this moment in time, when he said this with conviction, I had a little bit of doubt in me. I said, Wallah, if we get to the river, and these people have got to the river before us, and they've crossed it, I will be the first one to take my sword and kill Ali. I will be the first one to murder him. Because it means he's a liar. He's promised, he's made an oath, and he's predicting what is going to happen. If Ali turns out to be a liar, I'll be the first one to kill him. He says, I had a moment of doubt in my heart. And this, brothers and sisters, what me and you sometimes have, doubts in our hearts. But the infallibles do not have any of these doubts. So he says, we waited until we got to the river. I saw that the enemy had not reached the river. I was meaning to think about the issue. We crossed the river. As soon as we crossed, the enemy approached, the battle began. The battle was swift because we outnumbered them and we were more capable, and they began to disperse. After the battle ended, I went round, I looked at our shuhada, there were 10. SubhanAllah, this is the second sign. I went round to the enemy camp, I saw how many of them were left, there were 10. While I was sitting there astounded by this, I felt the breath of Ali ibn Abi Talib on the back of my neck. He said, Ya Akh al-Azd, oh my brother from the Azd tribe, now do you believe in me? He said, SubhanAllah, how did he know what was in my heart? It's conviction. He says, Belly, I asked for forgiveness, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen. Something of the doubt entered in my heart. He says, do not doubt in me. Doubt what you will of others, but not in me. Because I was told about this day in detail by the Holy Prophet. He described to me exactly when, exactly who, exactly how, and exactly what. So therefore, do not doubt in me, because doubting in me is doubting in the Prophet. And therefore, doubting in the Prophet, we've discussed this already. So, brothers and sisters, make sure that likewise you raise your children from a young age to behave as if they are older than their years, as if they are more mature than their years. Why? Because that time comes when they will be grown men and they will be ready to assume leadership, and people will trust them, people will follow them. Insha'Allah, there is no reason why your children cannot be companions of the 12th Imam. There is no reason why you cannot have children who are scholars like Shaykh al-Tusi and Shaykh al-Mufid and Sayyid al-Murtada. There is no reason why you cannot raise children like Malik al-Ashtar. I don't see a reason why they cannot. If you raise them in the right way, Allah has given them potential, He has put in their hearts the love of Ali, I don't see a problem. So make sure we learn from this story of Yahya when he was a young child. Allah gave him wisdom. When he grew up, some of the Banu Israel began to question him. He answered each and every one of them, and they could not attack his character because they knew while he was young, he already showed wisdom. but instead they conspired to murder him. The story of Yahya has a sad ending. Yahya was asked by Herod, who was the king of the time, he said, I wish to marry my niece, my brother's daughter. Condone it, approve it, you are the most learned of the Banu Israel, condone it. He said, this is forbidden, she is mahram to you. I cannot condone, I cannot approve of such a marriage, forbidden, Allah forbids it. He sent messengers, he tried this way or the other. Every time he tried, Yahya, the Holy Prophet, would write and make sure as many people knew about this command as possible. No, I will not allow it because Allah does not allow it. What does his niece say to him? She says, if you're going to marry me, I know you're not going to listen to him, if you're going to marry me, I want as my mahar the head of Yahya. And Herod then conspires to have Yahya arrested. He beheads him and brings his head to his niece and says, this is the mahar for your marriage. And Imam al-Hussein, when he leaves Mecca, he refers to this incident. Ibn Abbas, his cousin, he loved the Imam. He cared for him much. He said to him, Yabna Rasulullah, I fear for your death. This world is not something that you should take lightly. People will conspire against you. You need to be wary, be careful, strategize, go hide in the mountains in Yemen somewhere, go take shelter in the tribes. Live it out as long as you can. Maybe one day Allah will make you stronger. What does the Imam say to him? He says, this world is worthless, it's nothing. Don't concern yourself with this world. After the Holy Prophet Yahya's head was given over to one of the adulteresses of Bani Israel, do you think this world means anything? This great prophet that is described in the Holy Quran, his head was handed over to one of the unchaste women of Bani Israel. What good is left in this world if people can behave like this? The Holy Prophet says the Bani Israel in one day, from Fajr until sunset, they would slaughter 70 prophets. 70. What kind of a world will we live in when this kind of thing happens? We see people acting, I don't know if you've seen the news, people slaughtering each other, beheading people, beheading children, stopping people, getting them off the bus, checking their ID card. His name is Hussein, kill him. His name is Ali, kill him. Going to a center, mosque, leaving a bomb, killing worshippers, 100 people, 200 people. Ajib, what kind of a world we live in today? And yes, because after the Imam says, after someone like the Holy Prophet Yahya has been killed in this way, people will do anything. So the point, brothers and sisters, and this is also to the young ones, is that look up to the example of the Holy Prophet Yahya. Look up to the example of the Imams and their children. The subject of tonight's talk, Imam al-Hasan and his son, Salamullah alayhi. In the Battle of Karbala, Imam al-Hasan Salamullah alayhi has 20 children, male and female. In the Battle of Karbala, he's represented by 7. There is no one more represented in the Battle of Karbala than Imam Hassan. How many of them are shaheed? 5. 5 shuhada, 2 injured. Imam al-Hasan gave, in terms of, if we talk about numbers, he gave more in the Battle of Karbala than anyone else. More than Imam Hussein himself. He gave more children over. He gave more children than Amir al-Mu'mineen. He gave 5 and 2 injured almost to the point of death. So anybody who's looking at the history before Karbala and saying, why did Imam Hassan make a deal with Muawiyah? Is he less in any way than Imam Hussein? Is Imam Hussein braver, stronger? No such thing. No such thing at all. In fact, Imam al-Hasan, Imam Hussein says, he says, my brother is better than me, and my father is better than us. Yes? He himself testifies to this. And the Imams likewise make a similar statement. Imam al-Hussein for 10 years lives under the rule of Muawiyah ibn Abi Sufyan, la'natullahi alayhi. 10 years. Why? Because the conditions are not ready. And because the people are not ready to receive, to understand what sacrifice means. For 10 years. That means if Imam Hussein was braver than Imam Hassan, why did he not come out and fight Muawiyah right away? That means there was a change in conditions. Imam al-Hasan was the one that set the scene for Battle of Karbala. If it wasn't for Imam Hassan doing what he did, there would be no Karbala. The Imams would have been poisoned and killed without anything. No knowledge of the events. Imam Hassan set the scene to make sure that the Battle of Karbala was a success. That sacrifice, the news would reach far and wide. He is represented in the Battle of Karbala by 7. The first and the eldest, Al-Hasan ibn Al-Hasan, Al-Hasan Al-Muthanna, which means Al-Hasan the twice. So twice his name is Hasan the second. Yes? Al-Hasan Muthanna. This Al-Hasan Muthanna was injured in the battle, bleeding profusely, never recovered after that. He didn't die, but after that he lived a life of ill health. His sons were revolutionaries. One of them is Muhammad Nafs al-Zakiyya, if you've heard this term. Muhammad Nafs al-Zakiyya. He led the revolution in Medina and Basra against Abu Ja'far al-Mansur, the Abbasid Khalifa. We're talking several years after, many years after. His other descendant is called Al-Hussein ibn Ali, also a descendant of Imam Hassan. He has a sister also called Zainab. They battle, a battle called Al-Fakh, outside of Medina. It is almost as epic as the Battle of Karbala, except 300 are beheaded. And likewise, the women are taken as prisoners. It's very similar to the Battle of Karbala. I hope all the brothers will go and look it up. Inshallah, learn more about this battle. He is likewise a descendant of Imam al-Hassan. So Imam Hassan's sons are revolution. This is Al-Hasan Muthanna. He enters the battle. He fights in front of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein. He falls. Imam thinks that he is going to be martyred. When the enemies approach to kill him, one of them decides to, he feels a bit of mercy for him, he decides to take him away. He thinks he is dead. He doesn't want anybody else to take what is on the body. He ties him to his horse and takes him off the battlefield. He survives in this way. The other son is Umar ibn al-Hasan ibn Ali. This son of the Imam is around 14 years old. He goes out into the battlefield. He is injured. The Imam brings him back to the Imam goes out to try to save his life. One of the enemies says there is a blood relation between me and his mother. His mother is Khawla, the wife of Imam al-Hasan. He says, Khawla is one of our cousins. This person is my cousin, don't kill him. You've injured him, I'll rescue him now. But he's taken prisoner. He goes to Kufa, he goes to Sham, he comes back with the Ahl Bayt to Karbala and back to Medina. Yazid, la'natullahi alayhi, in Sham, when he sees and he asks, who is this? They say, this is Zainab, who is this? Zainab Abidin, he begins to ask. He points at the son of Imam al-Hasan, Umar, and he says to him, who is this? Who are you? He says, I am the son of Hassan, the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib. He says, more? We killed a few. He said, I am one of the ones that survived. He said, you look, this is Yazid saying to him, you look about the same age as my son Khalid. How about you two wrestle each other? Now this son of Imam Hassan was ill. He was weak. He had suffered in the battle. And look at what Yazid is saying to him. How about you wrestle? He wants to see fun and games. How about you wrestle with my son so we can see who wins? What does Umar reply to him? He says to him, I am weak and injured, as you know. I have no energy to wrestle. But, look at this reply. Give him a knife and give me a knife and let us fight each other. If he kills me, I will go back to my father and grandfather. If I kill him, he will join his father and grandfather. What a reply. Yazid says, forget this. He knows what this means. He's trying to tell him that your father and grandfather are in the worst of places, and I will join my grandfather, the Prophet. The other five are shuhada. One of them, Abdullah ibn Hassan. He comes out while the Imam, after the Imam has been floored by the three-pronged arrow that hits his chest, he falls off his horse. He's being approached by the enemies. This Abdullah ibn Hassan is 8 years old. His auntie Zainab is holding on to him. Imam can see from a distance. He says, hold on to him. I do not want the line of my brother to be cut off. Don't have all his sons killed in this battle. His aunt is holding on to him. He manages to escape from her, runs into the battlefield, jumps on the chest of Imam al-Hussein. One of the enemies is about to bring down his sword on Imam. He holds out his arm to defend him. He says, you will kill the grandson of the Prophet, my uncle, or you the son of the worst woman. They knew the features of these enemies. And he has his arm cut off. The narrators say it is dangling on the edge of the skin. He begins to cry, falls on the chest of Imam. The Imam comforts him. He says, don't worry, my son. These enemies, what kind of judgment do they have on that day? My father and your father and my grandfather will be their enemies. They will pray against them. They will prevent them from seeing good. And he comforts him. He is killed by an arrow on the Imam's chest. This is another son. Another son is Ahmed. He is 18 years old. Ahmed ibn al-Hasan. And today the remembrance of one of Imam's sons is Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. Al-Qasim was 1 year old when his father died. The year 50 Hijri, Imam in narrations either the 7th of Safar in the year 50 Hijri or the 28th of Safar. This is the two narrations, either the same day as the Prophet's death or the 7th of Safar. Both are recognized by our communities, inshallah. The year 50 Hijri, he is 1 year old at that time. That means in the Battle of Karbala, he is 11 years old. Imam al-Hasan says to, in a narration, he says to his brother Imam al-Hussein when he's giving his will, he says, and him, he points to the little one, be wary of him, take care of him. I entrust him to you. He has other sons, he has other children. But it's as if he's sending a special message. Why this one? Why is it that of all these, I mentioned 5 sons killed, why is it the 8th of Muharram, the 8th night, we remember Al-Qasim? Something special behind it. He says, I entrust him to you. He says, he is my son now. So for the next 10 years, he grows up being the Imam's son, Imam Hussein's son. At 1 year old, you can't distinguish if this person is your father or not. You are raised knowing only the father that you see. Imam Hussein raises Al-Qasim, so don't think of him as a nephew. Think of him as one of his own sons. He cares for him no less than he cares for Ali al-Akbar. That is why when the battle begins and the companions, the Ansar, go out and the Shuhada are mounting, the Imam takes Al-Abbas to the battlefield and brings each one of the Shuhada back. He brings them back to the tents of the Shuhada. He makes a special tent and he puts each one of the Shuhada in the tent. He brings them back. After seeing this and seeing Ali Akbar's body lying there, Al-Abbas goes out to fight, in some narrations before Al-Qasim, in some narrations after Al-Qasim. And then the Imam stands and cries out, Ala min Nasrin yansuruna, Ala min mu'inin yu'in. Is there anyone left to defend the daughters of the Holy Prophet? Is there anyone else out there that is willing to help? No reply. Al-Qasim goes into the tent, prepares his armor, comes out and tugs at Imam Hussein's. He's a young boy, remember, 11 years old. He tugs on Imam Hussein. My master, give me permission to go out and fight. He says, no, my son. You have been entrusted to me by Al-Hassan, my brother. When I look in this camp, I can only see you. The rest are dead. They're out there in the battlefield. You are the last one. I do not want to lose you, my son. Go back. I can't let you go into the battlefield. He goes back into the tent, begins to cry. His mother is Ramla. Her name is Ramla. She begins to see him crying. My son, why are you crying? He says, my uncle does not let me go out to battle. She says, come. She brings out the chest. She had a small chest. In it were the possessions of Imam al-Hasan. She puts on the helmet of Imam al-Hasan. She puts on the armor of Imam al-Hasan. She gives him the sword of Imam al-Hasan. She gives him 2 slippers that belong to Imam al-Hasan. Slightly bigger than he for him, but to give the image that he is Imam al-Hasan. She says, go now, he will accept now. Al-Qasim, he comes out. Imam al-Hasan sees him. He says, Imam Hussein narrates in the last part of his maqtal, he says, I saw my brother walking towards me. MashaAllah, what a face. Qasim, what are you doing? He says, I have come out to defend my aunt. I have come out to defend you, my uncle. I have come out to defend the daughters of the Prophet. He says, but I see you in the dress of my brother. You have brought back his memory to me. Don't let me be distressed by seeing you go out in the battlefield. He said, my uncle, there is no khair in this life if I see you die. If I wait and see you get killed, there is no khair in this life. There's nothing left for me in this life. Imam al-Hasan says, Ahsant, bravo, bravo my nephew. Waqa'an, you are the son, truly you are the son of my brother. Yes, brave, that is said bravely, go out. When he comes out, because he is short, he's young, some of the enemies, they wait. Who is this? They don't recognize. So he cries out in battle, أنتم كروني فأنا نجل الحسن سبط النبي المصطفى والمؤتمن هذا حسين كالأسير المرتهن بين أناس لاصقوا صوب المزن. O people, if you ignore me or you do not acknowledge me, know that I am the grandson of the prophets and I am coming out to defend Hussein, who is stuck between, or who's surrounded by people who do not know what right is. They can't tell the difference between right and wrong. So he announces himself. The enemies now narrate. Hamid ibn Muslim says, he was one of the narrators of the battle. He says, I saw a young boy come out. His face was shining like the moon, the full moon. How bright is it on a dark night? Like the full moon, the beauty of a full moon, his face was like that. He came out wearing some beautiful armor and carrying his sword and charging at the enemy. I saw the men disperse away from him, 11 years old, disperse as the enemy. Then I saw a man, he was standing not too far from me. He says, Wallah, I will make his mother be upset at the death of this child. I said, Wayhak, how dare you? Look at him. He is one of the sons of the Prophet. Look how beautiful his face is. I would not touch this boy if he charged at me. He says, no, Wallah, I will attack. What does Al-Qasim do as he's in the midst of battle to show that the enemies are worthless? As he is charging, one of the straps of his sandal becomes loose. He goes down to the earth, puts down his sword in front of all of the enemies, comes down to put his sandal back on properly. Look at the way he treats the enemy. You are nothing to me. You are less than these sandals of mine that I am wearing. The enemies see this man begins to charge at Al-Qasim ibn Imam al-Hassan. Al-Qasim begins to raise his sword. Ajarakum Allah, the la'een brings down the sword on Al-Qasim's head. He shouts, Assalamu alayka ya amma. Peace be upon you, O uncle. The narrators say Imam al-Hussein rushes into the battle like a lion. He moves away these enemies left and right, charges at them, kills a few of them, begins to hold Al-Qasim. He says, didn't I say to you, you look like my brother? Now you have made me see the death of my brother again. He becomes upset at this. Al-Qasim is in his last seconds. He says, yes, my uncle. But I can see my grandmother, Fatima al-Zahra, she's holding a cup of water for me. She's welcoming me. So it is worth dying in this way, my uncle. Al-Qasim takes his body and wraps it, wraps the Qasim's body, and brings him back towards the tent of the shuhada. The women began to gather and weep. Zainab begins to weep. She says, Wallah, I did not expect to see my brother Imam Hassan die again. This is the state of the shuhada on this night. So when we remember Al-Qasim, brothers and sisters, remember this is the kind of children that we want, that will defend till the last minute, that will be raised in a way that represents their fathers and families well. So inshallah, by the holy remembrance of Al-Qasim, by the remembrance of Imam Al-Hassan, we ask Allah to bless our children and our young ones. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Brothers, there have been requests for dua. One of the brothers has asked me just before we started. Around the world, alhamdulillah, people see this majlis. They hear about what the mu'mineen here in London do. Remember Imam Hussein in a foreign land. So inshallah, we remember them as well. Always, every night, if you can remember them in dua, we will recite أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَ إِذَا دَعَا وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 5 times, inshallah, so Allah answers our prayers. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَا وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ 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 أَمَّنْ يُجِيبُ الْمُضْطَرَّ إِذَا دَعَا وَيَكْشِفُ السُّوءَ. Ya Allah, Allahumma hasten the reappearance of the 12th Imam. Bless us to see his reappearance. Make us loyal followers of the 12th Imam. Bless us in joining his army. Hasten the reappearance and hasten the unity of this ummah. Make us all followers of Muhammad and wa ali Muhammad. Make us those who answer the call of the 12th Imam, inshallah, when he rises, in order to send our hadiyah blessings on the dead mu'mineen from our family, from our community, the ulama, the shuhada. Let us recite Surah Al-Fatiha with salawat. There is a drive by some of the brothers, Jazakumullah khair. They're doing good work. They don't have to, they're not forced to, all of them have jobs, all of them have busy lifestyles. They want to redevelop this center. I mentioned this in a talk, I mentioned this a couple of days ago. Redevelop the center so that you can make more use out of it. To build a second floor, to build a full-time school inshallah, to build an event hall, to give you more space where the brothers, the sisters, the young ones can carry out some functions and activities, to build the center for the next 20, 30 years, for the next generations, for the generation of Al-Qasim ibn al-Hassan, the 10, 12, 4-year-olds, 7-year-olds that need these services. Me and you, alhamdulillah, we have our beliefs from our parents, from the scholars, we have seen, alhamdulillah khair, we've been ziyarah, but the younger ones have not seen this opportunity yet. So build this center to give them the best opportunity for the future. So inshallah, brothers, going to go around with a small container for your donations. Start off with 1 pence, £1, £10, £5, £20. Do not be miserly in what you give. And do not be ashamed. Giving 1 penny is better than nothing. Amir al-Mu'mineen says to give something little is better than not to give anything at all. Support this initiative, brothers. Write for it on social media. Make sure you can ask the brother. Brother, I said over here, ask him, how can we support this initiative? What do you need from me? How can I help you make this a reality? Inshallah, next Muharram, I want to hear the good news. That's 1 year from now. I want to hear the good news that this project has almost been funded. Do not let Imam al-Qasim Ibn al-Hasan next year, this remembrance, and we still have not achieved this aim because Imam Hussein supports such initiatives. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.